Om Akhandamandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Hari Om. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramakrishnaya. Welcome to the 64th week on the readings and reflections from the life of Holy Mother based on this book. This book is titled Holy Mother Sri Sarada Devi, written by Swami Gambhiranandaji. As usual, I will read some passages and then we shall reflect upon some of the points that emerge. Page 244. Then the Pamban island, as also the Rameshwaram temple, was under the administrative control of the Raja of Ramnad, who was a disciple of Swami Vivekananda. He had instructed the temple staff by telegram that as the guru of his guru would be visiting the shrine, all facilities should be offered to her. As a consequence, the Holy Mother and her party were taken to the sanctum sanctorum, contrary to the general custom, and were allowed to worship the uncovered Shiva image to their heart's content with Ganges water, flowers, etc. The mother offered 108 golden leaves shaped like the real leaves of the bale tree. During all the 3 days that they stayed there, they visited the temple every morning and evening. On the third day, the Holy Mother arranged for a special worship at the temple, fed the Pandas after hearing a recital of the glory of Rameshwara from old scriptures, and she presented to each of the Pandas a water pot. It is customary to sit with betel and betel nut in hand at the time of hearing Rameshwara's exploits and offer them to the reader at the end. The mother faithfully observed all the customs. The temple staff had been instructed by the Raja to show the temple jewelry to the mother and present her any piece that she might ask for. When the Raja's wishes were communicated to the mother, she was at a loss to think out what she might really be in need of. And so she said after a pause, "What can I need? Whatever was necessary has been arranged for by Shashi." And then it struck her that such a refusal might offend them, and hence she corrected herself. Well, if Radhu has any need of anything, she will take it. And to Radhu, she said, "See if you can choose anything you may have need of." The mother said so out of courtesy. But when the treasury was opened and the gems and diamonds glittered up, her heart began to throb, and she kept on praying, "Master, may not Radhu have any temptation?" The master heard her. After looking at everything, Radhu said, "What is there worth taking from all this stuff? I don't want any of these. I have lost my writing pencil. Buy one for me." At this, the mother was immensely relieved and came out to purchase from a roadside shop a pencil worth half an anna. Brahmachari Krishnalal, who was an attendant of the mother and who visited Rameshwaram with her, said to Sarala Devi one day that on looking at the uncovered Shiva image, the mother soliloquized, "It is just as I had left it." The devotees that were near at hand inquired, "What did you say, mother?" The mother at once corrected herself and said, "A meaningless something escaped out of my lips." After the party had returned to Calcutta, one day, Kedar Babu of Kolpara asked the mother at the Udbodhan, "How did you find Rameshwaram?" And the mother replied, "He is just as I had left him, my son." Then the ever-alert Golabma was passing by the veranda. As soon as these words fell on her ears, she stopped and asked with enthusiasm, "What did you say, mother?" Taken aback, the mother said, "Why? What should I say? I was only saying that I was very much delighted to see, just as I had heard from you." But Golapma was not to be put off so easily. And she said importunately, "No, mother, I have heard everything. It won't do to retract your words now. Isn't it, dear Kedar?" And she whisked away without waiting for a reply to tell everyone of the good tidings. The devotees believe that the same personage who incarnated in the Treta Yuga as Sita, the ever faithful consort of Ramachandra, and worshipped a Shiva image made of sand on the sea coast of Rameshwaram, descended again as the all enduring and ever gracious Holy Mother, so that the sudden sight of the uncovered image carried her mind unconsciously across the vast span of thousands of years, and the past appeared as a vivid present. And forgetful of her immediate environment, she made that spontaneous remark. Dhanushkoti is another sacred place in the island, from where the bridge thrown across the sea by Sri Rama commences. It is customary to worship the sea by presenting a golden or silver bow and arrow. As the mother could not go there, she sent two of her attendants with the silver bow and arrow to perform the worship on her behalf. From Rameshwaram, they returned to Madurai, where they rested for a day, and then they proceeded to Madras. Now the birthday of the master approached, and the devotees took advantage of the mother's presence to make on the occasion a great day of joyful celebration. Some people were initiated by her on that day. After the celebration, she left for Bangalore on the 10th of Chaitra, that is, by the end of March 1911. So, dear devotees and friends, welcome to the 64th week of the readings and reflections from the life of Holy Mother. As you all know that we are traveling with Holy Mother to so many places. Once she left Puri, from Puri Kharda Road, she came to different places, and then she came to Madurai. Last 2 weeks, I have been staying in Madurai only. Can you imagine that so many things are to be told about Madurai that over to that, I was thinking last week I shall proceed further. But then there were several devotees who wrote to me that I must continue that Madurai topic. So anyway, I thought I have finished. But then one strange item that happened to me in my life, I must share with you. You know, in 2018, before coming to Dublin, I was on a US tour. So some of the centers invited me for some talks. So one of the center was Houston in Texas. So when we arrived at the Houston center, it was about 11:30 or so. My close friend and who studied with me in a training center of Belur, Swami Atmarupananji, he was there. So he received me very cordially and he said, "Maharaj, you just get ready within 10 minutes because we'll have to take food now." I said, "Okay." I thought that is the lunch time. Okay. And so many devotees were there on that day, and all of them received me very cordially and then gave me lunch. And then after the lunch, Swami Atmarupanji is telling me, "In 10 minutes time, get ready. You are going somewhere." I said, "I'm going to do not rest." He said, "No, today no rest for you. You go somewhere and come back. The evening your talk is scheduled." So I thought, yes, in a new place, when you go there, you would like to see the place also sometimes. So I said, okay, I was ready. And along with me, a few devotees from South Africa also were there. So they arranged 2 cars and we all went. And I was asking the devotee driver who was taking me where we are going to. He simply looked at me and smiled. "You will see now." he said. And the car went and stopped at a place I could see from the distance one a mammoth gopuram of a South Indian style architecture. I could imagine, oh, somewhere he is taking me, but on the way there is a temple also. So I must tell him, well, coming back, let me go to the temple also and see. No, actually, he was taking us to that temple only. And when I got down from the car and saw the board, it is written there, Meenakshi Temple Society. I was stunned because only the day before, with another devotee of South Africa with whom I was staying in a hotel earlier, I was talking to him about this Madurai Meenakshi temple. And the next day I arrived at Houston and I was taken to there. And there I saw when we entered, putting our shoes, chappals, etc. on the outside at the designated place, then we entered. Because first time I am seeing a Hindu temple in America, and that was Meenakshi temple. So when we entered there, it was surprising. The trustees of the temple society were there. They received me very cordially and they took me around and I saw Madurai Meenakshi standing and the temple itself was in the lines of the Madurai temple. So you can see that all the things that we saw in Madurai for the last 2 weeks about the temple, those are all put in that place. So when you see that, so as if I have gone back to Madurai from Houston within seconds. You see, simply seeing an image, I asked, who is the person who did the architecture of this temple? And it was strange to hear a Bengali architect has designed the temple on the lines of Madurai temple. You see, when you go out of India, India is one country. Everywhere you can see that. When you see Indian from any part of India, you understand that. So a Bengali architect has done that. And there are sthapatis, the people who make the images. They were brought from Tamil Nadu and they did the temple, entire temple. It's a huge gopuram is there. And then we went and had darshan of Madurai Meenakshi. They did arati, archana, etc. And we sat there for some time. And then finally, after going around the entire the temple clockwise, and then we were brought to a cafeteria. You see, in Western countries, along with the temple, cafeteria is a must. So people go there and have some tea, coffee, and then take some tiffin also. So on that day, it was about, already it was 4:30. So we were given very sumptuous tiffin of dosa there. I couldn't imagine, in coming to America, I will have a dosa, but then it was there. So all these things were arranged by one of her lady devotee of the Houston Center. I asked her, shall I tell your name? She said, no, Maharaj. It will be embarrassing for me. Please do not tell my name. Okay. So my thanks at this time, I should thank her for making the visit so memorable at Houston. Now here, I tell you, seeing the image of Madurai, you feel that you are transported to Madurai. One such incident had happened at Rameshwaram with the Holy Mother. A very beautiful sentence written by Swami Gambirananji. It is such a complex sentence he has written. And I must read it again, unless, otherwise we will not get the meaning of it. Swami Gambirananji says, the devotees believe that the same personage who incarnated in the Treta Yuga as Sita, the ever-faithful consort of Ramachandra, and worshipped a Shiva image made of sand on the sea coast of Rameshwaram. This is one part. Who is Sita? Sita is the ever-faithful consort of Ramachandra. We all know that. She worshipped a Shiva image made of sand on the coast of the coast of the Rameshwaram. That Sita, who incarnated the Treta Yuga along with her Brahman, that Brahma Shakti, that is Ramachandra, What has happened to her? He says, descended again as the all-enduring and ever-gracious Holy Mother. So for Holy Mother, he gives two adjectives. One is all-enduring and ever-gracious. So she is always ready to give her grace to you. And she is all-enduring. Any type of difficulties come, doesn't matter. She endures. Now, why these two are connected? So that the sudden sight of the uncovered image carried her mind unconsciously. She saw the image. As I told you, when I saw the Houston temple Meenakshi, I was transported to Madurai, I said, the same way. It's all small things that we always do that. When you talk to somebody known to you, coming from your own village, as if you are transported to the village. Likewise, so here what happened to Holy Mother, it's said that Holy Mother was unconsciously transported, as it were, where? To the Treta Yuga, thousands of years before. And in the past. And that past appeared as a vivid present. So when the past has become the present, so she could see what is there. A Shivalinga cover is there. That's why in Rameshwaram, there is no proper Shivalinga, because it was made of sand. So how many people had come after that, have put on water, etc. The sand is gone, but the spot is there. So they keep a cover, just like a Shivalinga, a golden cover they keep. So generally, when you see the pujaris, they pour water, and then the water is poured on that Shivalinga, that image covered by that casket. So once the casket is removed, which is very, very rare occasion. Nowadays, of course, they don't remove it all. Earlier days, it was only with the king's instruction. When the king goes, he will be shown removing the casket, and he can do puja on that place. Or the Nepal's king, when he comes there, he had the right. It was given right by the king of Ramnad. And then he could go and see without casket. Otherwise, none of us, even when I went, I was not shown that. Showing to people without the casket is impossible. But here, on that day to Holy Mother, the king of Ramnad instructed the pujaris of the temple to open the casket and show her. And she was, being a woman, she was even allowed inside the sanctum sanctorum. In a Garbhagraham, as we call it. In Garbhagraham, generally, females do not enter. Only males. And that males also, not everyone. Only the pujari who is doing that. He may be belonging to the same temple, that pujari. But if he is not having the duty in that sanctum sanctorum, he also cannot enter. Everybody has to stand outside and see the arati. Only the person who is doing puja, who is allotted puja on that day, that time, he can only enter. Such a case was there, and such strict rules are followed there. And you see, Holy Mother was allowed inside. And she went and she stopped there. She did all the pujas. As the puja is to be done, she did on her own. In Shiva puja is one great important thing is that you don't need a pujari. Entire North India you go, pujari is there, of course. If you don't know, you can ask the pujari to help you. Otherwise, you yourself can do puja. You can pour water, milk, ghee, and madhu, that is honey, and curd. Anything you want, you put it. And pour over the Shivalinga. And do your own mantras. And pour water. Nothing, no problem at all. Because Shiva is very happy. Not like the other deities where there are certain specific manners are there. There are certain meticulous methods are to be followed in puja. Not like that. So in Shiva puja, anybody can do. And mother is very accustomed to perform puja from childhood onwards. So she did the puja. Now the question comes, how is it that what Swami Gambhirananji is writing here, that is it proper to think the same Sita of Treta Yuga is born now as the Holy Mother Sri Sarada Devi? So after her return to Calcutta, Golapma one day asked her, and she was telling, "Oh no, that is nothing, that is nothing." So she was just evading the answer. But when Kedar Babu came, this Kedar Babu is a very good devotee of Mother, and he asked Holy Mother, "So how was Rameshwaram trip?" As when you go out and come back, people would ask you, "How was your trip?" The same way he asked. Here also, unconsciously, she blurted out, "Yes, it was as I saw." Then Golapma, she was walking on the veranda. Hearing these words, she immediately ran to her. "Mother, mother, what did you say? What did you say?" The mother said, "No, nothing. I was telling him that it was nice. Like there's something she was trying to manage." But then she won't allow. She called everyone in the house. "Come, all of you." So glad tidings, he says, good tidings, he says, Swami Gambhirananji. There is a news of good tidings. During Christmas we say good tidings. And the same good tidings word he has used. And then all the people came there, surrounded mother. And then mother had to say no. So she said, "Yes." What is the story? When did Sita go to Rameshwaram? You would like to know. I would like to share this Puranic story. That story has been given paintings in the form of paintings in Rameshwaram temple itself. So when you go there, you can see the paintings. Excuse me. And now come to know the story. So the story it goes like that. In Treta Yuga, when Ram appeared, his Shakti, when we say Ram appeared, that is slightly a wrong phrase I used. Ram doesn't appear. Somebody appeared as Ram. What is that somebody? Sri Ramakrishna says at Kashipur Garden House in the cancer throat, and he was lying down on the bed. He's telling to Naren, he who came as Sri Ram in Treta Yuga, he who came as Krishna in Dwapara Yuga, is now in this body, he says. So, Rama and Krishna were the avatars, were the incarnations. But who came as Rama and Krishna? That is Suddha Brahman. So that's why in Rama Namavali, we start like that. Shuddha Brahma Parat Para Ram. Parat Para. What is supreme you think? There is more supreme than something. Supreme is is final. But if there is anything more supreme than that, Parat Para, and it is Shuddha Brahman. It is not the Brahman which can play with you, the Brahman that takes forms. No, it is the Brahman, Shuddha Brahman. So the Shuddha Brahman comes in the form of Ishvara, manifests in the form of Ishvara first. And then after making Ishvara's aspect, then Ishvara takes these avatars. So it is normally said that the Lord Vishnu, Bhagavan Vishnu takes avatar. So he comes in different forms at different ages according to the need of the time. Yada yada, that's what Sri Krishna says in Gita. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuthanam madharmasya. So he says, I create myself. So Ishvara creates himself again and again according to the need of the time. So when the Brahman comes, that is what the first chapter of the book deals with, why we are studying the life of Holy Mother. Very beautiful chapter. I always recommend to people to read that chapter first. Because of course, when you start reading that book, you'll read that chapter. But that chapter contains the entire further chapters, the gist of all the further chapters. What is the gist? When Ishvara appears as an incarnation, his Shakti is not left out there, wherever he was. His Shakti, which is inseparable from him, comes in the form of another being. And that Shakti takes the female form. And that Shakti came as Mother Sita. And that Shakti came as Mother Radha Rani. And that Shakti came as Holy Mother Sri Sarada Devi. Once this idea is clear in our mind, then this incident will ring you bells. So, what happened during Ramavatar time? So, Sri Ram came all the way to southern India from Ayodhya. What purpose? Because at Chitrakoot, his wife was kidnapped by Ravana. Ravana was the king of Lanka, Lankapuri. That Lankapuri was a golden Lankapuri. Whether you heard about any city that is all made of gold, that city was. Such great man of that Ravana. He had strength, he had devotion also, extremely devoted to Lord Shiva. And that Lanka Puri, that Ram came all the way with the help of Vanaras, that is the force of the monkey's force, and Hanuman was there. His great devotee has become with all the people, and then he won. There, when Ravana was removed, then Mother Sita was redeemed from his hold. And when he came back to Pamban and then to Rameshwaram, Ram and Sita, Lakshmana and Hanuman and all the other few people are standing there. They were waiting for a Vimana. Vimana means plane. In these epics, long back the epics were written. You do not know when exactly time also. So when Valmiki wrote, you understand Valmiki knew about the plane services. Now we are thinking only Wright brothers invented the aeroplane. We say that. In our history books we read. But then much before, long before, the planes were moving. And one of the planes was supposed to come to pick up Ram and Sita and Lakshmana and Hanumanji. Where? To return to Ayodhya. How they will return to Ayodhya? They can't go away walk because so many years it took for Ram to come there. So many months it took rather. And then again with those months he had to spend. But then the plane was ready. And that plane was belonging to Kubera. So Kubera said, let me give it in the service of the Lord. So the plane is supposed to come. And then they were standing there. Time is left. Very short time is left. At that time, a strange being appeared before Sri Ram. That strange being, there are strange beings are there. If you see the Durga Kavacham, in Durga Kavacham, it is said there are many beings other than human beings. See, the beings mean that which has got prana. Prana Shakti is there, that is called being. So anything. So humans are one special category of the beings. Likewise, animals. Likewise, birds. Likewise, wherever the prana Shakti is there, even the trees, that is also one kind of being. Likewise, certain beings are there in this world which we can't see with our naked eyes. Yakshas, Kinnaras, Devas, Pishachas, Bhutas. Like that, there are 18 varieties are told in our Puranas. And then after telling the 18 varieties, the Rishi says, etc. So you do not know how many exactly. So there are beings which we can see by our eyes. Sometimes we cannot see. So the unseen beings are many. One such unseen being is called Brahmahati. So the name itself can give you some idea. Brahmahati means that which is that sin which takes a form to kill you if the sin has been committed by killing a Brahmana. Brahmana, who is a Brahmana? A Brahmana is one who walks in the path of Brahmanhood. So he wants to attain Brahman. So he has become Brahmana. So if a Brahmana is killed, then what happens? The sin of his killing will assume a form and it will ready to eat you now. See, the Puranas give the stories. The stories are made into such a dramatic way so that even the child can understand. It is a sin to kill somebody. It is a sin to kill an ant. It is a sin to see these things. You understand how that if I tell or the Puranas tell us that the sin will affect you, well, I would not believe that. There is no sin. I don't care for the skin. Like that we speak. Modern boys and girls, they speak like that. But how do you make understand? So the Puranas bring out a story. They say the sin that you commit does not go anywhere. It stays with you, but it takes a form of its own and will come and attack you. So people suffer from extreme stomach pain. One great Tamil devotee of Lord Muruga was there. His name was Arunagiri Nadar. Arunagiri, short for short. Arunagiri was an excellent, very handsome boy at his young age. And that all his handsomeness and the shining nature of his physical, everything he lost by going into prostitutes' houses. With the result, he lost all his handsomeness and he got into leprosy. Can you imagine? A handsome young man is suffering now the body pain. What is this disease that has come upon him? The disease is nothing but the sins that he has committed. So the sin that you commit in any birth must be suffered. You cannot remove that. So we all have certain difficulties, certain disabilities, and these disabilities, you must understand, are always on the part of sin that has come upon you. There is a beautiful, another Tamil scripture is there called Thirumandiram, written by a great rishi called Tirumular. In Thirumandiram, there are passages where the rishi says that you get boil in your tongue. You are unable to eat, you are unable to talk. It is because you have misused your tongue. How did you use your tongue? How did you misuse your tongue? If you speak sweet words to everyone, you are using the tongue. If you use bad words to somebody, you are misusing the tongue. When the tongue is misused, that sin, where it goes, it comes back to the sin, to the same place where it originated. And it becomes a problem with your tongue. So in Hindi, the disease tuberculosis, we say. Tuberculosis, in Hindi, there is a beautiful word. It is called, tapa. So that means heat. This heat is coming because when you become jealous of somebody. So if you are jealous of somebody, what happens? Your body, mind get heated up. Oh, that person is living nicely. He has got so much of money. He has got a wonderful life. And like that, you go on getting jealous of the other person. You are heated up with that thought. And tuberculosis is the result. So likewise, there are, even in Ramcharitmanas, Tulsidas points out certain diseases, how they are connected to your mental and physical thoughts. So, lot of diseases come to our body through virus, through like this COVID virus has come. It has come, global. Likewise, there are pandemic situations are there. And apart from that, individually when you suffer something, there is a reason to correlate between your thought and action that combined put together and the result of that thought and action in your life. So there are many diseases have been said to be originating from the thought level. So like that they have found out. So certain psychological diseases, say for instance, in psychology, even the dermatologists, I have worked with a great dermatologist, Dr. Panja in Calcutta. So he was in our hospital and he used to come to our office and we used to have discussion. So one day I asked him, is it true, Dr. Panja, that eczema, etc., like skin diseases some people suffer from? Is it completely curable by the modern medical methods? He said, no, Swamiji. We can bring the prakopa, that is the severity of the disease, to some extent we can reduce, but hardly will be able to remove completely from the body. I said, why? Because the root cause is not in the body, it is in the mind. So some psychologists have to become, and then they have to come and find out what is the root cause in the mind, any desire that is oppressed, any desire that is not coming out, any desire that, or any sin that he has committed is unable to tell out. Even if you commit some mistakes, you go and tell somebody, Maharaj, I have done these such and such mistakes. So like that, then it can be excused. It comes out. But if you repress your thoughts, and that repression will remain in the mind, they undergo into that level of unconsciousness, and then they will try to come out. How do they come out? Through the physical diseases, skin diseases. So they say it's called psychosomatic diseases. So certain diseases are classified as psychosomatic. Certain diseases are okay. If I touch a fire, then I burn my finger. So this trouble, this suffering has come because I touched a fire. This is not psychosomatic. But certain diseases are classified as psychosomatic. So why I'm telling you is that the mind is very important. So here the Brahmahati, the dosha or the sin of Rama. Rama committed a sin after coming to Lanka. What was the sin? He killed Ravana. Ravana, whether you like it or not, the story says his father was a Brahmana, Rishi. He married a tribal woman of Lanka. And then they got 3 children, Ravana, Kumbhakarna, Vibhishana, and Kumbhakarna. Now, 3 sons. Now they say, so father was a Brahmana, so Ravana is considered as a Brahmana king. Now a Brahmana son is a Brahmana according to the social custom in those times. And that's how they carry that title also. You see, that has come long back. From thousands and thousands of years, India is a Hindu society has been organized in a paternalistic society. So the father's title goes to the son. And the girl, when she's married to a man, his title she gets. So likewise, that is a society set up. Whether it is good or bad, I'm not going to discuss now. But that is the system was there. So in that way, Ravana was a Brahmana son. So when Rama killed him, the sin of killing a Brahmana came out as a Brahmahati dosha in the form of a pisacha. Only Sita could see, Lakshmana could see, Hanuman could see. Others could not see that. And Sita thought, the pisacha has come before Rama. I think the pisacha may bow down to Sri Rama and ask his grace. That's what she thought. But then when the pisacha bowed down to Sri Rama, she thought like that. But it was not so. The pisacha said, the Brahmahati said, "O Rama, I bow down to you. I know you are an incarnation of God. But since whoever comes onto this earth commits a sin, the sin will attack you. You have done a sin, so I have come to eat you away. That is the punishment of the sin. You will be killed now." Now, hearing this, Lakshmana and Sita got enraged. After long months back, after they got back, Sita has come back to be united with Sri Ram. And at that time, she hears that a Pishacha comes and tells Rama will be eaten away. How can she tolerate that? She looked here and there. Hanumanji was stunned. They don't know what to do now. As per rules, these rules are not anybody written rule. These are all universal cosmic rules. In spiritual plane also there are rules are followed. In physical plane we have got rules. Physics rules, chemistry rules are there. The same way, spiritual plane also there are rules. Accordingly, Ram has to now submit. But they didn't want. At that time, luckily, Narad Muni appeared. So they naturally consulted Narad Muni. Narad Muni said, only one way the sin can be expiated, by worshipping Lord Shiva. At that time in Rameshwaram, the place was not called Rameshwaram. The place was near Pamban, a place near Pamban, that's all. Pamban was there, but the place near Pamban where they are all standing. Rameshwaram was not there. So, in that place, there is no temples for Shiva. And the rule said the Shivalinga that Ram has to worship at that moment must be got from Lord Shiva himself. If that Shivalinga from Lord Shiva is procured now, and 10 minutes are left, and if Ram does puja to that Shivalinga, his dosha will be gone away. Now within 10 minutes, how do you get a Shivalinga from Lord Shiva, who is in Kailash? So Ram looked at Hanumanji. Hanumanji was a Uttam Sevak. In Sevak also there are gradations are there. Uttam Sevak, Madhyam Sevak, and Adham Sevak. This Adham Sevak is, you have to tell clearly, hey, I'm finding very difficult in my throat to get me a glass of water. But the Madhyam Sevak will find, oh, you are now having some problem with throat, he immediately brings water. And Uttam Sevak is, before you get this trouble with your throat, he has already kept water in your tube. So like this, said the Hanuman is a Uttam Sevak. So the moment Ram looked at him, that was enough. He understood. And he can fly. He only flew and then brought a whole mountain, So he just flew. And then he went to Kailash. Unfortunately for him, in Kailasha, Lord Shiva was immersed in meditation. And that is his natural state. When he gets out from meditation means that is unnatural. Generally, he is in meditative state. So he is deep in meditation. And he goes and presses the feet of Lord Shiva. And slowly, Lord Shiva's consciousness comes back to his body. And he opens his eyes. He says, hey, Hanuman, what do you want? He says, I want a Shivalinga from your hand. So please give me. Why one? Take two. So graciously, Shiva is always gracious. That's why if you worship Shiva, your sins will be wiped out. So you immediately gave two Shivalingas in his hand, and Hanuman took it and was coming back. This 10 minutes not gone, 8 minutes gone. 9th minute has arrived. Now only 1 minute left. Sita became absolutely impatient. Because that impatience, why? Within 1 minute, the lingam doesn't come and the puja is not performed. How? She will lose Ram. That's all. At that moment, Mother Sita, not a mere, very obedient Sita, going behind Sri Ram, not that Sita. She manifested her divinity. How did she manifest? She went and sat on the sand. She put her two palms together and made a Shivalinga of the sand. And commanded Sri Ram, come sit here, do your puja now. Shivalinga is ready. And 10 minutes not yet over. Ram sat there and did the puja to that Shivalinga made of sand, not stone, sand. Now when the sand worship was just finished, of course Brahmahati went away. Hanuman arrived with two Shivalingas. And he found the puja is done already. It's over. Now, so much of difficulty, he had gone there and met Shiva and brought this Shivalinga. These two Shivalingas given directly by Lord Shiva himself. Will it go waste to this entire world? No. So he was disappointed. He was a little angry also on Sri Ram, on his master. Why did you not wait for mine to come? But then Sita said, well, even if you come, you would come late. I knew that. That's why I made a Shivalinga. She made by her own hands. Now think of Holy Mother going into Treta Yuga in her unconscious mind, in her vision, and that status of that time, Treta Yuga time, was present for her. The past has become present. So when she saw that linga, and she said, when after the puja is done, the sand also has melted, come down, and it has all dissipated. And that portion, how she left Rameshwaram at that time, the same time it is, same type it is there. That is what she uttered. Actually, she blurted out those words. See, when avatara comes, you must understand that avatara's power comes unmistakably. And when avatara's power also manifests the divinity at several times, at several situations. So for Sita, that was one situation. She manifested the divinity. Full divinity of the Shakti she manifested. And there are other places also. Once in South Africa, I was asked to speak on Mother Sita only. It took about 2 hours. So I asked one great Pandit of Ramcharitmanas. I told him, these are the passages you must sing. So he sang, and in between I was talking. So while talking about Sita, so many things we need to know. How many things are there? We think Sita was an ordinary woman. No. Because she was a spouse of Sri Ram, she got all the benefit of worship. No. It is the power, Shakti of the Ishvara. So Ishvara Shakti can stand on its own. That is what Gambhiranji says to us, that after the passing away of Master Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother stood on her own right. She received all the approbation. She received all the worship. She received everything due to her on her own right, not just because merely a wife of Paramahamsa. So that is what, so Shakti manifests her power. Otherwise, think of Sita's childhood age. She was only 10, 12-year-old girl. And she wanted to do puja of Lord Shiva. So Janaka Raja told his daughter, Sita, you are so much interested in learning puja of Shiva, I will teach you. So he taught her Shiva puja and told her, merely doing puja is not enough. You must do some seva also. What is the seva? Then he took her to the adjacent room in the palace. In that room, there's a huge bow was there. That bow belonged to Lord Shiva. That bow was given to Parashurama, and Parashurama gave it to Janakrishi. And that bow was there in a glass case. So you come here and daily you dust it and clean the room. That is the job he gave to Sita. One day he went for bath. When he came back from bath, he entered the room. He heard that somebody is cleaning the room. He thought, must be that my child Sita, 12-year-old girl, she is cleaning. So she wanted to come and peep into that and saw. To his utter amazement, he saw that 12-year-old girl Sita removed that whole bow by her left hand and cleaned the place. Imagine that bow could not be even raised up by several kings. Great kings came during the Swayamvara time. None could lift it. Only Ram could lift and put his arrow and break it. None could lift that. It was so heavy. And he saw that small, tiny girl with her left hand, she removed that. So Shakti wants to manifest her divinity, her powers, at the right situations. She can do it. Nobody can stop it. So that is the story, that how she prepared a Shivalinga. And of course, the story goes on that Hanumanji is taken. One Shivalinga is kept in the Rameshwaram temple itself. The Rameshwaram temple came after that. When people came to know from Treta Yuga, Sita came and established, installed a Shivalinga. Then the story came, then the kings came later, they built the temple, and it was a small temple initially, and then later big temples came. And these are all, of course, after during the BC time, the temple started having attraction. And then after the Christ coming, after that is during this time. So this AD time, you can find that kings came. Certain kings came, lot of money for construction of the temple. And the temple came, now stands, it's a unique temple in the South Indian architecture. Unless you go to Rameshwaram and see, there is a huge mandap. You have to go inside. There are 22 wells are there. Each well is connected to a great river. So when you go there, there is a well, there's a pot is there, a bucket is there, and you take the water and pour on yourself and go to the next well. Like that, you do a production of the temple. Yes, clockwise production, and taking 22 wells water on you. Then you change to a new dry clothes and then go and see Lord Rameshwaram. So Lord Rameshwara, so in all his glory, he stands there. People come from all over the world. It's a place of pilgrimage for the Hindus. And that's how when mother was asked, will you be able to take the travel up to Rameshwaram? Mother said, why not? My father-in-law went to Rameshwaram. Should I not go there? She said. Sri Ramakrishna's father, Sri Ramakrishna could not go, but Sri Ramakrishna's father came all the way from Kamarpukur to Rameshwaram and had darshan of Lord Shiva. So you can see that how the people's psyche has been converted to worship Lord Shiva in Rameshwaram. This Rameshwaram temple received a very big donation by the Raja of Ramnad. You see, the Ramnad, that place comes under the jurisdiction of Raja of Ramnad. I'll tell you one important thing about this Raja of Ramnad. We are reading Raja of Ramnad, Raja of Ramnad, but who is that Raja of Ramnad? And he says, Swami Gambiranji says, when Guru of his Guru is coming, so the Raja of Ramnad allowed 2 privileges to Holy Mother. He writes here, Guru of Guru. Who is the Guru of Raja of Ramnad? It was Swami Vivekananda. This Vivekananda's Guru was Sri Ramakrishna. His Guru Patni is his Guru. So, Guru of his Guru is coming. So, he has instructed the temple authorities and allow these 2 privileges he gave. One is to open the treasury, which is a very rare thing to be done, and ask the lady to choose whatever she wants. And another privilege, to take her inside the sanctum sanctorum of the Rameshwaram temple and show her, let her do her own puja. So 2 privileges he afforded to Holy Mother because he felt Guru of his Guru. What is the name of that Raja of Ramnad who did all these privileges to her? His name was Bhaskara Setupati, King of Ramnad. Very less number of years he lived. Even Swamiji lived for 39 years. But this Raja lived only for 35 years. The Raja of Ramnad met Swamiji and he takes him to Rameshwaram, to Ramanathapuram as it is called now. Ramanathapuram is the capital city of Rameshwaram state. So Ramanathapuram is where the king lives. Swamiji went all the way and he took him. And then he made him as a state guest, a king's state guest. You can understand. And Swamiji was there in a palace it was called Vilasam, Shankara Vilasam. The Shankara Vilasam is the name of that palace. That palace was his father. That is Raja Setupati's father, Muthuramalinga Setupati. He was a king. In his time, that palace was built. And there, traditionally, they used to do a worship to goddess Raja Rajeshwari by giving a bali in that palace. And when 4-year-old this Bhaskara Setupati was, the father died. At that time, British and Muslims, that Islam rulers, took over the Ramanathapuram district. They used to call it Ramanathapuram estate. They took it over in their power. And they appointed a committee. That committee people were looking after the administration of the state. Till Bhaskara comes of age. And when Bhaskara came to 21 years, he was made into king of that place. Now, this incident, that mother coming, Swamiji coming, these are all after he became king. He became king at the age of 21 years. And now, in 1892, Swamiji was wandering from Calcutta onwards. He went to North India. From there, he went to Central India and came to Southern India. And he went to the tip of the India, that is that Kanyakumari. And in Kanyakumari, he swam across the ocean. There was a rock. There he sat for 3 days. No food. He sat there 3 days meditating upon. What he meditated upon? Meditated upon Atman? Meditated on any Devi Devatas? No. He meditated on India, Bharat. Before him, the history of India came upon. Thousands and thousands of years before, ancient history. One by one, the sceneries were coming out before his mental eyes. He saw terrible condition of India at that time. Poverty stricken everywhere. Such a great, glorious motherland has fallen into desperate state. What is the method? What is the way to rejuvenate our motherland? That was the topic of the meditation. And he found out. He says that I hit upon a plan sitting upon the rock, the last rock of the motherland, he says. So when you go to Kanyakumari, you must visit Vivekananda Rock, where Swamiji's temple also is there. So he hit upon a plan of rejuvenation of this country. And that Swamiji, when was taken by Raja Bhaskara Setupati and put him on that Shankara Vilasam, he had everyday discussion. Swamiji's disciple he was. He gave him initiation. But then he told him, don't be fond of the Western methods only. Because Raja Bhaskara was very well trained in Western music. He was well trained in Western manners. Britishers wanted him like that. But then innately he had great attraction to our ancient status, our ancient developments. So he had great attraction to both. So he was the perfect vessel for Swamiji to put upon his ideas to him. He told him, go to the villages, see the poverty. Something should be done for them. Education should be taken to their homes. Health care should be given. Food must be given to them, distributed to them. All these things Swamiji imprinted upon the mind of Raja Bhaskara Setupati. So we shall continue next week. Next week, I'll proceed further with, of course, what I left to talk about Raja Bhaskara Setupati, and then I'll proceed. Om Kripam Kuru Mahadevi Suteshu Pranateshu Cha Charanasrayadhanena Kripamayi Namostute. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.